Today, we are getting all of our plumbing rolling over here. We have HVAC cruising, and things are moving along really awesome up here in Park City, Utah. So on today's episode, we're gonna be talking all about our plumbing system and why we chose to use what we did. Let's get going.
Altitude Adjustment, a Build Original series, is brought to you by Builders FirstSource, Delta Millworks, Huber Engineered Woods, Pella, and Sharkbite.
We are over here on the job, and I want to walk you through a few of the different things that we're doing on this project and why we're using these compared to something else. So first off, all of our plumbing system's going to be PEX, so you'll see red and white supply lines, which is very normal. Most of what we've seen in the past, though, has been PEX B, which are crimp fittings. And what we're using on this job is PEX A from Sharkbite, which uses expansion fittings. So I want to show you the difference between these and some benefits to using PEX A and some of the cool stuff that Sharkbite has made sure that we're using over here on this project that is making things incredibly smooth. I have a couple fittings here for PEX A and a couple fittings for PEX B. From an install perspective, PEX A would be your expansion fittings. PEX B is the crimp fittings. This would be a crimp fitting, and this is an expansion fitting. One of the things, and probably the most noticeable difference between the two, is the inside diameter on these two fittings. With a crimp fitting, the pipe is going to, this is obviously not the right size pipe, but the pipe is going to slide over the top of the fitting, and then they're going to put a copper ring over the pipe that's going to crimp down onto the fitting itself. With PEX A, these are expansion fittings. So there's actually a special tool that gets inserted into the PEX line, which expands the pipe and then allows you to slide the fitting right through it, and it seals right back onto the fitting itself. So you're getting a lot more flow through the PEX A fittings than you are the PEX B fittings. You'll notice here we've got a little fitting that's inside connecting us into this fixture box. As you're actually working with the pipe itself and connecting them, it isn't uncommon in construction to have a crimp fitting that maybe didn't get crimped down all the way, or something just got missed or didn't get fully completed. And then when you actually turn the water on in the house or air test it, you notice a leak and you come through and fix the crimp fitting. But with the expansion fittings, the pipes actually don't go together or don't fit or seat all the way on the fitting unless it's done correctly. This little piece slides over here, and then your fitting goes through here. You'll notice as it's cold or as we're sitting here without the tools, they're not going together. We actually have to put the tool in here, expand the pipe in order for these fittings to be able to even slide in. So I think that's a huge benefit if you're just thinking about cruising through these jobs. It is something that can happen sometimes where you have a crimp fitting that doesn't seat all the way. It's not something that usually ends up going not found because we either air test these or we're filling them with water during the process and we can figure it out. But that's a huge benefit to it. The other thing is we are obviously building up here in really cold temps. So PEX A actually does a little bit better in cold weather than PEX B. The downside to that is that when it is so cold outside, sometimes working with the stiffer pipe can be a little challenging. But we've got some propane heaters running inside of the house right now. We're mostly closed in. We have 99% of our doors and windows in. So it is kind of staying a fairly even temp in here. And so far, no complaints from the plumber side to actually manipulating the pipe and getting it around through the house. If you have spent any time on a job site, you are probably familiar with the Sharkbite plumbing fittings that make connections incredibly easy, or the hold right accessories that help keep our jobs really, really organized. What you may not know is that these two parts and two companies are part of a bigger family, which is called RWC. They provide plumbing products that will get you from start to finish, from the meter all the way through to the plumbing fixture. This company has been around for an extremely long time and has created products for plumbing that make the installs very quick and also make our jobs feel incredibly organized, whether that be from plumbing fixtures that you see inside the house or even exterior snowmelt. The RWC family is created with a host of different products that really make all things plumbing simple and easy to use. We used a lot of the RWC products over here at Altitude Adjustment, and a huge thank you to them for being a sponsor of this project. So go over and check out all that RWC has to offer, and stay tuned to see more of the shark bite fittings that we're using within the plumbing system, along with a lot of other products from RWC. That is just one tiny piece to this plumbing system with a whole lot of very cool parts from RWC that I want to show you, because some of these are new and unique for us, and this is a project that we're using them on for the first time. So first off, what in the world are these orange things that are sticking out of the wall? HoldRite, which is the same company that makes these little elbows that we use a lot, and HoldRite is owned by RWC. They created these really cool shutoff valves. It actually already has your shutoff attached to this little wall plate, has the little HoldRite elbow that you're used to seeing, just like this purple one that we use all the time. And then it's got pipe coming out of the top of it. This is very cool in a sense that you can screw these to the wall exactly where you want them. You just use your PEX-A fittings to connect your hot and cold lines to them. You're not installing a bunch of different parts. We don't have to come back and install these final shutoff trims at the end. They're here, and they're here now in this stage where we're framing and wiring, and we still have insulation and drywall. So this little cap just screws on, and it'll stay here. And what it is it protects dust, debris, drywall mud, drywallers, like the abuse of carrying drywall and hanging drywall. So it's protecting our shutoff valves during that entire process. Then when we're done and ready to do our finish, we just screw these off, and it's as easy as that. We could technically fill these lines with water and test them all right now, as soon as the plumber's done, because we have shutoffs on everything. They do have on the plates a bunch of screw holes that you can use to attach to a stud. But let's say if we needed this like mid stud and didn't have a place we could screw to, you don't necessarily have to go through and add a bunch of blocking. They make these little metal rods, and you can just attach this outlet or fixture box absolutely anywhere you need it. And these are a perfect product to use when we're talking about bathrooms, if you've got shutoffs under cabinets, laundry rooms. There's just so many uses for this that I find to be very cool. HoldRite, that's making these, is also making some other products that we have. And this is one of the ones that you've seen around here a few times. So we're gonna walk over here and I'm gonna show you where we use these. In one of our earlier episodes, we installed all of our pipe for our snowmelt and our radiant heat. One of the things that I think is very cool is these little kind of 90s, these little corners. This gives you a very easy way to take a pipe that's attached to the netting on the floor and turn it and pull it up so that we can attach it to our entire system here. This just gives you a very clean turn. As you can see, it keeps all of our pipes like very neat and nice and organized. Aesthetics of the pipe that's going to get buried in the walls or ceilings in the long run does matter. The homeowner is going to come walk through this house at this stage, and being able for them to like look up and see everything ran neatly and nice and clean. These are just one way that we can organize our pipes, keep them neat, keep them nice, and also keep them protected, because that is this 90, especially here, is the point where the pipe is coming out of the concrete up to the wall where we'll end up mounting our boilers and all of our valves. It's just like a little sleeve, little protection over the pipe, which is kind of cool. Here's another product that you're probably really used to seeing. These are our half clamps. So these are also from HoldRite. And if we walk over here, pretty much anywhere where there's going to be a pipe attached to the wall, these little clamps attach to the pipe, just have a little screw there, screw into the stud, and it keeps those pipes nice and tight and organized in the middle of the stud. You'll notice they're mounted in the middle. Anytime we have a pipe that is within about 1.5 inches of the face of any stud, like we do on this side. You'll see the plumber come through and nail up these little nail plates just to make sure that when the drywall crew comes in to install, if they put a drywall screw through here, it stops and it doesn't go into our pipe there. So we'll get those pipes on pretty much anywhere that pipe is within about 1.5 inches from the edge. But these little hold-right clips help keep those pipes centered on the studs, which helps keep them away from screws from drywall guys. So there's another cool product from them. And then we have a few others. These are hose bibs that are also made by SharkBite. You probably know the name SharkBite from their push to connect fittings or the caps that you use when you're working on remodel projects. That's probably the most common thing where we're using like SharkBite fittings. But this is a very similar fitting. It's a push to connect in a hose bib. So same family, same brand of companies, and all of their products are meant to work well together and play together, which is a big benefit. A few of the other little things that you'll see us using over here. So these are gonna be our SharkBite expansion angle stops, and these also are quarter turn. So this is very similar to what you just saw on the hold-right fittings that we have over there, quarter turn stop, but this is just another little SharkBite product that we're using over here on the job. So you got a little glimpse into one of the basement bathrooms down here. I'm gonna give you a little tour, walk through what we've got going on. I really want you to be able to see and enjoy some of the things that I am looking at, and then we'll see how it's going. We actually have 2 mechanical rooms on this house. We have the one that we were just in, and this is kind of the centralized mechanical room. You'll notice as we look in here, this is our water softener loop. The plumber has actually come through and given us our loop for the water softener inside of this room. It fit a whole lot better in this space. And then back in here is one of the pieces of our plumbing system. This is actually our main water line. So we are directly underneath the front door, and we chose to bring the water main into this area, which is great because it's just off of this other mechanical room, and it's plenty of a distance away from where our sewer line comes in. This house actually has to have fire sprinklers because of its location. We're in a wildland urban interface. So when the fire sprinkler company comes through and installs all of their pipe, their fire riser will go directly right here, right next to the main water shutoff, but coming in, it's the first thing it hits. Then from there, this water line's gonna come up and come off into 2 separate lines. What the plumber has done is this is our main water shutoff for the house, and then this is our water shutoff for all the hose bibs. So a big thing that happens here in Utah and in any cold climate is freezing hose bibs, mostly because people forget to maintain them or winterize them or do what they need to do to make sure they don't burst. So in this case, the plumber has actually given them a shutoff for the hose bibs. Let's walk over to this other side, and then I want to take you upstairs and show you some things that we got going on up there. We have 2 more bathrooms on this side of the house. This one's going to be separate tub, separate shower. And this one back here is an ensuite to this bedroom. So this is like a lower master. We have floating vanities in this bathroom. So the plumber's gonna do something a little different over here. Shower has the same setup. Every one of these showers is gonna have mixing valves and diverters. So we have a regular shower head, a handheld. You can run both, you can run one at a time, you choose. And then we have a laundry over here. And that same line of products from HoldRite offers this laundry box, in-wall box, which is super cool. So again, we have our shutoffs already installed, already ready to go. The plumber's gonna come through and just connect directly to the hot and cold. But this gives you an in-wall box that the drywall crew can come through and drywall right around. And it just looks nice and clean and well put together. We have a stackable washer and dryer in this little laundry. So we've got our in-wall dryer vent. That'll just allow that stackable washer and dryer to tuck nice and tight to the wall, because the vent coming off the dryer can come into this box and turn instead of turning at the face of a wall. So little things that when you're thinking about saving space, that's a big bonus. And we've always included those on jobs. So we're going to go upstairs. I'm going to show you guys around some of the stuff we got going on up there and then show you what you have coming soon. So let's head upstairs. As we start pulling those water lines up through the floor, you'll see these hold right fittings that are coming around the pipe. They're just clamping onto the pipe, keeping them nice and straight. It's also protecting them as they're penetrating through that floor surface. We do have a lot of appliances in the kitchen that require shutoffs. So in this case, the ice maker is literally sitting directly next to the sink. So it makes obvious sense that the shutoff for the water line to this ice maker will be under this sink. So we'll open the cabinet and you'll have 3 shutoffs in here. You'll have your hot shutoff, your cold shutoff, and then you're gonna see a 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch shutoff. And this 1/4 inch line is gonna go over to our ice maker. Because these appliances or this appliance is directly next to a sink, it's as simple as that. The 1/4 inch line will be in this little push to connect. We'll attach it over and hook it to the ice maker, which makes sense because it's right there. And it'll just get ran with this little 1/4 inch tubing. But in a case like the kitchen over here, where we have appliances kind of scattered sporadically through the kitchen, I want to show you how we're going to do our shutoffs in that space. So let's go check it out. Dishwasher right next to the sink. So same situation as the bar, but we have fridge and freezer all the way over here. And then in the pantry, we have another fridge, another ice maker, and all kinds of stuff. So you're gonna notice our hot and cold for the water lines for the sink, but then we have this other 3rd line, which looks like a cold line. When you have these built-in appliances, like a Sub-Zero or a Thermador, these things are tough to get out. So if for some reason the water starts leaking in the fridge, getting that out to get to a shutoff behind the refrigerator is challenging and sometimes not something the homeowners can do. So what we like to do is centrally locate all the shutoffs. Ice makers, dishwashers, fridge, freezer, water line, any shutoffs that we have, any water we have in the kitchen. When you open the cabinet under this main kitchen sink, all the shutoffs are gonna be under this sink. This 1/4 inch tubing line, which is the line that goes to the ice makers, the dishwasher, it's a little smaller and a little more fragile, I guess you could say. So I don't necessarily want to run this through the floor from the freezer over to the sink. So what the plumber does is he's gonna take this 1/4 inch line when we come to do finish and just drop it down into this 1/2 inch line, feed it all the way over, and it's gonna pop up underneath the sink. And it gives us a very rigid pipe that we can use to feed this through to get underneath the sink. So that's just something we've done for a really long time. I think after you have one client that ever has an issue with a built-in fridge and freezer and the water leaked and it damaged their hardwood floor and it's a big nightmare. Once you have that happen once, you try to find solutions to make sure that you never have a client that has that again. And our solution has just always been that we would put all of the shutoffs under the main sink and run these 1/2 inch lines as a little conduit. You'll notice the same thing over here in the pantry. We have a sink down here. We have a refrigerator over here. Same thing. There's our 1/2 inch line. And then when we come over here to the sink, we have our hot and cold that go to the sink. And then there's the sleeve for that water line. So we can just feed this through. The ice maker, and in our case, we're using the Scotsman Pebble Ice, which is a must-have for people. But the ice maker's drain is going to be in a specific location. And in this case, you can see our floor sheathing that's being nailed right through here. This ice maker is going to be a 15-inch wide cabinet. Just based off of looking at this, my guess is that this is dead center under that ice maker. We're going to have to get a pump model ice maker in order to get the water over to the sink to drain because we can't cut a drain through this floor joist. Just little things that you got to pay attention to and think about. We're going to walk over and I'm going to give you a little sneak peek into the madness that is happening in the master bathroom and show you what that's going to turn out like, because this is a space that I could not be more excited about. So come check this out. We'll start with this sink wall. So we have 2 sinks, this insane view, and no wall to vent our sinks from. So these 2 sinks are going to have auto vents underneath them. Under these 2 sinks was supposed to be drawers, but because we have auto vents, we also have some stuff that we need to do for the tub under here. It made a whole lot more sense to make these doors and give the homeowners as much usable space as possible under here. So we were able to swap that out and make that work. In here, we actually have bathtub and a floor filler. And this on the original set of plans was drawn as a cantilever. And this was something that we kind of put up a little fight about really early on, because it's important to us to not put plumbing in a cantilever in a place where we get a bunch of snow and we have freezing temps. So we ended up having the architect put a foundation below so we could insulate this. And because of the way the building code works now, and we have to be able to regulate the temperature of the hot water for this freestanding bathtub, that is going to be done underneath this sink over here. So we have to make sure that we have enough room for that. And unfortunately, that means we got rid of the drawers. In the toilet room, we are using the Toto NeoRust, which is a very unique toilet. It is a very fancy toilet and requires not only the water line to be in a very specific place, but just very specific dimensions for electrical and power and everything else. So in here, you'll see that the plumber has already started to run his water line for this toilet. And one of the other things that you'll notice is this toilet drain sits up really high. Something that hasn't happened yet and won't happen until after electrical is done is this whole main floor also gets radiant heat. So we're gonna pour 1.5 inches of gypcrete and all of this floor will get raised up another 1.5 inches. So that's why those toilet drains look like they're up a little higher than normal. We have a little bit bigger lines in the shower than all the other water lines that you've seen throughout the house. So 1/2 inch, 3/4. We run 3/4 lines to the master shower so that we know we're getting a lot of really good flow to that shower. Although the government regulates how much water we can have come out of shower heads right now, we're prepping the houses just to make sure that in the event that that regulation of gallons per minute flow, if that ever goes away, the homeowner can just swap out all the fixtures and go back to shower heaven. But for now, we'll just install the fixtures that are regulated and keep going with it. Originally, the architect had this steam head underneath the bench in the designs. One of the reasons that the steam head is now over here now is just experience and use of steam showers. If you've ever used a steam shower, the last thing you want to do is sit down on your bench and have the steam coming out at the back of your legs to burn your legs. So we've moved the steam head over here so that this bench that goes across the entire back, you can sit here, lay here, kick back and relax, and you're not going to get burned by any of that steam. The newer Mr. Steam steamer units come with really incredible variety of options that you can choose from now. It's not just the ugly steam head that you see at the gym. They now have these really neat, crisp, lean, like linear steam heads that come in brass and all the different color fixtures. They also have wireless controllers that we used on the last 5 steamers that we've done that are fantastic. So you can take it off the wall here and sit with it on the bench if you want to crank it up or turn it down or whatever you want. But even those screens for the steamer controls themselves are coming in more finishes nowadays. So they're not just black, not just chrome. I think it's great that we're starting to see that progress in finished colors and in like companies moving towards actually making an effort in that direction. And last thing I want to show you over here is we have one more laundry room on this house that's on the other side of this wall here. This is actually her closet. We've used that same in-wall washer drain box, which has been incredibly helpful. And then also the dryer vent. It just makes things easier, especially in a very compact laundry room. We really want to be able to push all of that stuff up nice and tight to the walls. So our plumbing system is really cruising along quite well. I'm sure you've seen as we've walked through our HVAC system, our venting, our gas ductwork, all of that is moving along really well. We're about 80% done with that. And I'm gonna show you a whole episode on the HVAC system because there are 7 different systems in this house that are doing a lot of work in addition to the radiant heat system with 3 boilers and a whole lot of other stuff. So stay tuned if you're interested in learning more about that HVAC episode. I think that's gonna be a really great one. We're also gonna dive into the altitude control technology system, which is the system that is going to help these Florida homeowners really be able to come here, sleep well, and enjoy this home at high altitude in Utah. That is something that they struggle with frequently is the altitude sickness, and this system is gonna make a world of a difference for them. And then probably one of the episodes I'm most excited for that's coming up is our electrical episode. Yesterday, we finally nailed down final costs and designs for our electrical, automation, audio, video, and all of our shades. So this was a mind-blowing package, and the products that we're using on this house are some that we haven't used ever before and some that I've just been dying to get my hands on. This is the part when I start to really just see the homeowners shine and the whole thing starts to come together and gets this close to being done. We're holding off the weather as long as we can, but it has finally hit us. The snow is here. I've got my heated jacket on. I'm gonna go get in my truck and try and warm up a little bit. But you guys stay tuned for more episodes, and you always know you can find me on social media if you want to check out more of the projects or more of what's going on. We'll see you guys next time on Altitude Adjustment.